Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we're making a video bright and early this morning because according to Adam Schefter, Russell Wilson might be visiting with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, this time of the offseason, I like to think of it as flight tracker season because if you're not staying up to date with literally everything that's going on around not only the Raiders but NFL free agency, then what the heck are you doing? Because this morning, Wilson was spotted at Newark Airport, and I don't know if he's already visited with the New York Giants, and when you look at the report from Schefter, it indicates that 100% Steelers and Giants either have met or are meeting with Russell Wilson. These are expected to be more, including possibly the Raiders. So there is nothing me sitting up here saying that, hey, the Las Vegas Raiders have already met with Russell Wilson. They are 100% going to. No, that's not 100% truth. It is just Adam Schefter reported that the Raiders might be another destination for Russell Wilson. Now, before we get into more of the details here around Schefter, and at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you why it does make sense for the Raiders to sign Russell, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't. But today's show is sponsored by and presented by Manscaped. And for all the guys out there, if you haven't already, go to manscaped.com, use code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner, and I hope that you get lucky during this month. All right, so the latest here around Wilson was cut on Monday by Denver, and this was a expected move, and this is a story that I have been talking about. I have been following since January 4th, the very first time that I said Wilson's going to be cut, and he's potentially going to be signing a cheap contract. Wilson was benched in Week 17 for Jarrett Stidham, which kind of makes me laugh out loud because the way that Sean Payton handled the Russell Wilson benching kind of reminds me very similar of how Josh McDaniels handled the benching with Derek Carr, and it's funny that Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback that ends up starting in both of those situations. But because Wilson was released by the Broncos, it's an $89 million dead cap hit towards Denver. Now, in terms of the money, Wilson's still going to make $39 million this year, the remainder of that money next season. My question to you out there is this, we know that the Raiders need a quarterback, and if you're somebody that's like, we got Aidan O'Connell, no disrespect, Aidan O'Connell is not even close to the quarterback that Russell Wilson is. And when you think about all the potential destinations that Wilson can go to, there's going to be teams vying for a top 16 quarterback in the NFL that has the opportunity to make $1.21 million. So my question to you out there is this: what team will Russell Wilson be on next season? Is it going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is it going to be the New York Giants? Or could it possibly be the Las Vegas Raiders? You're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and let me know. The reason why there's going to be teams vying for Wilson, and I get it, last season was a little bit of a bumpy road, but I'll also say this: Wilson is getting shit on for last year, even though he did not have nearly bad of a year, is what some people are saying that he did. I mean, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,000 yards. I was also with a brand new head coach, a brand new offense. In 2022, it was a disaster. But Nathaniel Hackett, I'm sorry, he has not been able to prove to me that he has the mental capability to be able to run a functional offense in the National Football League. I do know that Russ's best games are behind him, but at the end of the day, for the Raiders that are picking number 13 in the draft, I can give you some reasons of why it would make sense why the Raiders should sign Russell Wilson. The first one is this: he is an upgrade over Aidan O'Connell. I want you to say it with me. Aidan is a good backup, but not only is Russell Wilson cheaper than Brian Hoyer, he's cheaper than Aidan O'Connell, and he gives you so much more experience, and he gives you so much more ability. If the Raiders go out and they sign Wilson, they are a playoff caliber team. And if you have the opportunity to get into the playoffs, why the hell would you not do it? You also could potentially keep some of your draft capital. Now, just because the Raiders, if they do end up signing Wilson, I'm not sitting up here saying that doesn't mean that they don't have the ability or that they can't draft Jayden Daniels. Even if you sign Russell Wilson, if I'm the Raiders, you're still running the draft the exact same way. You just might not have to get as desperate and trade up into the top 3 for a guy where now you could just sit back and go, hey, if Jayden falls to number 4, we'll take Jayden there. Or you could potentially look at quarterbacks like a Michael Penix Jr. in the back end of round 1. You could trade up from round 2. Maybe you look at a Spencer Rattler in round 3. But to have Russell Wilson, okay, it is a very, very intriguing option from top to bottom. Now, why you should sign Russ, the other option is if you can't get Jayden Daniels, if you already know from the jump that you're not going to be able to trade up, you're not going to be able to get a top quarterback, that is definitely something to throw out there and keep in mind. And when you look at my quarterback wish list here from top to bottom, like Russell Wilson is somebody that I had at number 4. I still want the Raiders to try to find that difference maker at the franchise option. Antonio Pierce said that he wanted to find a franchise QB, and I see that as Jayden, Drake May, or Caleb Williams. If the Raiders don't believe that they can get any of those options, the number one option that I would take to be the Raiders starting quarterback in 2024 is Russell Wilson. Because they're a quarterback away, you might not be able to get Jayden Daniels, and if you can screw over the Denver Broncos, why would you not try to do that? Like, not only have the Raiders beaten Denver 8 times in a row, the last time that the Broncos beat Las Vegas, well, actually, they've never beat the Las Vegas Raiders. The last time that the Broncos beat the Raiders was all the way back December 29, 2019. So whatever money that Wilson ends up signing for, the Broncos get a credit, okay? So that's one of the reasons why I believe that Russ could actually do this, because it's been reported if he signs that $1.21 million, remember, I don't really think he's hurting for money. He's got Sierra. He's got plenty of money in the bank account already. He's already getting $39 million this season, and it's 12 bathrooms. He's got a lot of bathrooms to shit in. And you know what? I think Wilson's not too worried about the money. He's more worried about his legacy. And anytime that you mention guys like Tom Brady and Derek Jeter and you want to be in the same breath as them, here's an opportunity for Russell Wilson to get his legacy back, doing on a one-year prove-it deal on a stacked roster. Coming up next here on the show, I'm going to tell you why the Raiders shouldn't sign Russell Wilson. But I do want to give a shout-out to today's sponsor, Manscaped. And during the St. Patrick's Day, we'll call it, I love St. Patty's Day. It's one of those holidays where, don't get me wrong, I like to go out with my fiance. We have a good time, have a few drinks, smash a few Guinness, and then when we go back, maybe I'm lucky enough to smash as well. But if I get lucky enough to get to that opportunity, I don't want my little leprechaun, maybe a big leprechaun, I'll let you guys figure that one out. I don't want it to be covered in a clover patch. So go to manscaped.com, use code Raiders. That way you can get 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. On top of that, when you think about all the different products that Manscaped offers, I understand that sometimes people are a little bit worried, well, Mitch, what products are for me? I don't know if I like all of them. My favorite products that they offer are the Lawnmower 5.0, and then you can kind of see them that they're pictured on screen, the Boxers. I'm telling you right now, I have bought the Boxers for my own dad. I have bought the Boxers for Alex's dad, and I continuously will subscribe to the idea of the Manscaped Boxers are great at holding your family jewels and holding everything in the right place. On top of that, I like to believe that Jeremy and I got good beard game. And if you're trying to up your beard game as well, the Beard Hedger is a premium beard trimmer. So it's brand new. You can get all of these things available to you at that link that you see below. It's manscaped.com. Make sure that you use code Raiders. That way Manscaped knows that we are the ones that sent you. I take a lot of pride in having a good beard. I take a lot of pride in trying to look good for myself, for my fiance, and I try to do that to represent myself well. Manscaped, I think, does that. And if there was a brand that I think it just fits with me as perfectly as what they do, Manscaped is that brand. It's why they've been a part of this show for over 4 years now. So shout out to Manscaped. Go there, manscaped.com, code Raiders. Here's why the Raiders shouldn't sign Russell Wilson. If he's not willing to take that vet minimum deal, like, to me, then I don't know if I'm as interested in it. Like, I know the Raiders are going to try to draft a quarterback, and with that being said, I do want them to try to go draft a QB, but if he's not willing to take the vet minimum, I also am confident in Aidan O'Connell's ability to be a backup quarterback at least. Like, I don't want to pay Russell Wilson $10 million, $15 million per year. Then you're also going to have to go out and draft a QB. The idea of bringing in Russ is that you're getting him on a cheap deal, and then you can build everything else around him. I understand that Wilson is also not a Band-Aid. Antonio Pierce spoke around the idea of that they don't want to find a Band-Aid as a quarterback. You know what, though? Aidan O'Connell is the definition of a Band-Aid. Russell Wilson, I don't know if he's a Band-Aid. He might be more of like an adhesive patch because he is clearly an upgrade, and you can't deny that. Like, yes, he's not going to be the Raiders franchise quarterback for 10 years, but he's been playing in the league for a long time. I mean, look at some of these numbers here. If I have the ability to get a top 15 quarterback that has played this many games, that also has experience in the AFC West, that also has experience in the playoffs, that also has a Super Bowl trophy, I don't care what his name is, because if his name wasn't Russell Wilson, and if he wasn't a past quarterback of the Broncos, and if you were to look at all of these numbers here, and even the numbers that he put up last season, where he had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, like, everybody would say, yes, I would take that quarterback in a heartbeat for $1.21 million. The biggest knock, and this might be the biggest reason why I would say no to Wilson, if Wilson doesn't want to be a mentor, because the Raiders will end up drafting a quarterback this year. I'm not saying that they're going to trade up for Jayden. I'm not saying that they're going to take one in round 1, but I am saying that they're going to draft a QB. And if Wilson is not on board with the idea of wanting to teach a rookie and wanting to mentor a rookie, then it's not the right option, because Wilson is going to come in on a 1-year prove-it type of deal with whatever team he ends up signing. And then for him, he should think about, all right, if I sign that 1-year prove-it deal, we have stacked free agency, we go out there, we kill the draft, we have a good season, and then the following year, you go out and get your big-time payday. The other thing that scares the hell out of me about Russ is, and this is just another reason, there are pictures of him on social media. He's not flying private. Like, he's just walking around the Newark airport, walking on the flight like he's a normal Joe. But to me, when you have the amount of money that Russell has, like, there's sometimes I want Russ to stay out of the spotlight. Like, I want things to just be on football, and sometimes he just wants all the attention on him. And when I say no more God guys, this has nothing to do with religion, but Josh McDaniels was a God guy. And what do I mean by that? It was, he thought that he walked on water. He thought that he was the smartest. He was the best. He never took an account to anything anybody was saying. I mean, you saw the grades of the Raiders at the NFLPA release where they literally said Josh McDaniels was the worst head coach in the National Football League. He didn't care about anything that we said. 39% of the players felt unheard. What you cannot afford is having a Raiders team with a locker room that is as close as what they are, with a head coach like Antonio Pierce, and then you bring in your quarterback. Whether you want to believe it or not, if you bring Russell Wilson, he's probably going to be a captain on this team. He's the quarterback. Can you afford to have a captain that is a God guy? If the answer to that is no, then no, you should not think about bringing in Russell Wilson. Now, this is the time of the year that might be my favorite time of the year. There's going to be news, there's going to be happenings every single day, and this is, I almost want to say this is March, but it is March, right? Like, this is what free agency is all about. If the Raiders end up signing Russell Wilson, I'll be live here on the Raiders Report. If the Raiders sign anybody during free agency, we're going to be live here. Like, when I tell you that we're going to be live next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every single day, almost all day, we are going to be keeping you guys up to date on every single signing going on around the National Football League. So the news again is from Adam Schefter, and he is reporting that Russell Wilson could possibly visit the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you think about potential destinations, the Raiders do make sense. They are picking 13 right now in the NFL draft. If you don't know that you're going to be able to trade up and get your guy, and you believe that you're a playoff caliber team right now, Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce know that their leash is not a very long leash. So if you have that ability to just have that bridge quarterback for 1 year, and then even if you draft a guy like Jayden, even if you draft a guy like Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, which I don't love, J.J. McCarthy, I don't love, having them sit 1 year behind a quarterback like Russ to learn the system, to be able to get up to speed a little bit in the NFL, we've seen it before. It works. It is a system that works. Andy Reid did it with Patrick Mahomes. I think that one worked out pretty well. You've seen the Green Bay Packers. I feel like they're the masters of it, with Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre, with Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. If you don't throw the quarterback to the Sharks and you let them learn for a year, it's not a bad recipe. And then you also have a quarterback of the status of Russell Wilson. I think it's a pretty good thing here. So Jeremy wants to know, and you know what, let's poke the bear here a little bit. We'll talk about it later today live on the Raiders Report. I will be live later on today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be an absolute shit show. Some wild stuff happened yesterday, and we're starting the show off with a literal bang. But I want to know, before I get out of here, pick a quarterback to start, Aidan O'Connell or Russell Wilson. And the reason why this is an important question is, or draft a QB. I mean, I obviously want the Raiders to draft a quarterback. Like, this is option A. However, I do also think that you could potentially look at the idea of, if you're not confident that the Raiders are going to be able to get a difference maker in the draft, would you be more confident with Russell Wilson or Aidan O'Connell as the starter? If anybody says Aidan, I'm going to respectfully disagree, and I respect of you staying true to your colors with the Raiders. But again, I guarantee you, if I asked 100 non-Raider fans and people who are respected in the NFL community, would you rather have Aidan O'Connell or Russell Wilson? All 100 of them are saying Russ. So I'm going to end this video with this. If the Raiders end up signing Russell Wilson at $1.21 million, anybody out there that thinks that I'm going to be upset, you better check yourself, because I'm going to be celebrating, because as far as I'm concerned, with Russell Wilson, the Raiders are a playoff team, and the last time I checked, it's just win, baby.